What's going on, bottom line viewers? It is Mike here today to talk to you about who I think is going to win the Super Bowl. Well, there's a good chance there's some speed bumps on the way, but my favorite team is the Pittsburgh Steelers, no doubt. And I'm going to tell you today how they can win it and exactly what path they're going to have to take. Obviously, they start this week against Miami in the wild card round at home. Realistically, Pittsburgh should dominate this game. There's no reason why they shouldn't. They're at home. It's cold. It's going to be a game that favors the Steelers weather-wise, absolutely. Miami's playing with the backup QB, but to me, this is the trap game of the playoffs. Pittsburgh does this often, losing to teams that they really shouldn't. That's what scares me. The only way Pittsburgh loses this game is if they underestimate Miami, which is totally possible because we've seen them do it before so many times. Like we've seen them lose to Oakland in 2009 with Bruce Gradkowski at quarterback. That's something that shouldn't happen, and they were at home then too. So this game comes down to coaching. If Pittsburgh somehow loses, you can't. I don't think you can put any blame on any of the players. That is a big L for the coaching staff because you have to have your team prepared for that. A team like New England would not lose to a team like Miami and the state that they're in right now. That being said, I do think Pittsburgh will win. They should win. I think they'll score around 31 points, and a defense that has been playing way better during this 7-game winning stretch. With Stephon Tuitt coming back, I think they limit J.J. and hold the Dolphins to 17 points. Final score 31-17 for Pittsburgh. With that win, no matter what, they move on to play Kansas City. Now, this is where the games start getting tough, obviously. And there's no more trap games. You lose this game, you're losing this based on talent. Against Kansas City, how Pittsburgh will win this game is defensively having to slow down Tyreek Hill, punting the ball out of bounds, kickoffs through the back of the end zone. This game, a lot of weight goes on Chris Boswell's shoulders for this game. Another thing that Pittsburgh struggles against is the tight ends. They usually struggle to cover the bigger name tight ends. In this one, we got Kelsey coming out for the Chiefs. This guy's a beast. We won't stop him, that's for sure. 100%. He won't be stopped, but he will be slowed down. That is how, again, we take away their offense. We did blow out Kansas City early in the season on our home field at Heinz Field, but now at Arrowhead, that's a totally different place, and the Chiefs are a different team there, as well as the Steelers are a better team at home compared to on the road. So I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think this one will be much closer than the 41-13 game, I believe it was, when Le'Veon Bell came back. This game, again, comes on Bell's shoulders offensively. He did it once early in the season. I think this could be a game where he has more receiving yards than rushing yards. I think out of the backfield, he is hard to cover, especially if there's linebackers on him. That's pretty big. Antonio Brown's going to see some good corners, especially in this game. Marcus Peters has been a beast, and Eric Berry over the top has been absolute stud. To me, he's probably one of the top guys to win Defensive Player of the Year personally. He's been absolutely unreal, and what he's been able to come through and battle back from over the course of his career is absolutely outstanding. All the power in the world to him. Much respect to Eric Berry. But I don't think Antonio Brown's the key to this game. He will get his receptions. If we do have Ladarius Green, that's going to be big. Another big target in the middle is humongous. Something that's been missing since Martavis Bryant. With Ladarius Green in the lineup, it takes some double teams away from Antonio Brown, which is huge. He's been facing them all year with Martavis Bryant suspended and Ladarius Green being hurt for most of the year. With both those guys back next year, I don't want to speculate, but Antonio Brown's numbers should skyrocket. But with the big guy back, that'll help draw some attention away from him. So that would be a huge key, as well as the second receivers and receiving depth for the Steelers. Eli Rogers, he's a guy that's played really well. I could see a big future for him. He could be a guy just like Antonio Brown, 6th-round pick Antonio Brown was. This guy that I believe was undrafted, which is incredible finding a guy like that. And he has a lot of talent. So he's raw, and he's an athletic freak. Sammy Coates being able to run the top off the defense is another key to this game. But again, it's stopping the run. I don't think we'll see Jamal Charles, that's for sure. And it really comes down to stopping Tyreek Hill on special teams and defensively, and limiting Kelsey, because he is their guy. Now, Pittsburgh wins this game. I don't really think it's a shadow of a doubt that they'd play New England. New England would be either playing Houston or Oakland with backup quarterbacks, and Belichick, he feasts in these games. So, it more likely will be a blowout for them in divisional game. They'll probably get out with limited injuries. So we're going to be seeing their best against our best, except they won't have Gronk, which is humongous. I know Mitch on this channel is a gigantic Patriots fan, and something he's probably seen before is Gronk goes off against the Steelers. He has for the last number of years. He's not in this game. I don't think Martellus Bennett is going to shoulder the load that Gronk does by any means. For whatever reason, the Steelers defense just can't cover him. Him being out of that game is gigantic and is one of the reasons why I think the Steelers do have a chance. I know they are going in Gillette, which is a difficult task for any team to do. New England's great at home. Will they be outcoached? More than likely. Belichick is a fantastic football mind. He just does a terrific job. Matt Patricia and Josh McDaniels, also fantastic coaches. So I can't really see us keeping up on that side. That's the elite of coaching. Those guys are up here, and I think the rest of the league is pretty much down here on average. So that is going to be another thing we have to overcome. I do believe that the Steelers' offense can dictate this game, namely because Ladarius Green, I know his first game back was against New England, but he still wasn't super healthy, and he was just starting to get back in the offense, and Landry Jones was playing that game. And Landry Jones did keep that game close this year. So with Ben playing this game, that would be freaking gigantic again. Pittsburgh wins this game. This will be known as a Ladarius Green game. He could be going over the middle, probably have upwards of between 5 and 10 receptions. It's going to be a big target game for him. And Le'Veon Bell out of the backfield again. New England's defense is good. From looking at their schedule, I don't think they're as good as a lot of people think they are. That's just me personally. I know Mitch thinks they're one of the most elite defenses going right now. But I think that is something that would be huge, is Le'Veon Bell. Maybe not so Antonio Brown again, but you know what he can do. You know the routes he can run. He can get open. He'll get the ball. But I don't know if he'll be having a 100-yard day. But Le'Veon Bell and Ladarius Green are really the keys offensively. Defensively, again, going back to that side of the ball, I don't think New England's running game is that great. LeGarrette Blount obviously piles up the touchdowns. He's getting a lot of looks inside the 5. There's a lot of other depth guys in New England's backfield. But again, I'm still not a believer, as a lot of guys are, in their abilities. And then the receiving core, Edelman has been hot and cold. He was a ghost at the beginning of the year. If we're lucky, we get to see that Edelman back in the game. Danny Amendola's super injury prone. I'm not ever too concerned about him. Or Hogan or Slater, I'm not that concerned about them. Devlin out of the backfield could be an issue. Pittsburgh seems to struggle against good fullbacks like Kyle Juszczyk in Baltimore. When he got the ball, he moved it. Devlin's probably the second best fullback in the league. So that's a small key. That's a aspect of the game that will be hard to control. But then Brady's a stud. It's hard to overlook that. He is talented. He studies the game. He knows what's open, and he has beaten Pittsburgh consistently. So again, a lot of pressure weighs on the defense. I think the front seven has gotten so much better. If Hargrave's playing, that'd be huge. I think the Steelers draft class, Burns, Davis, and Hargrave, the first 3 picks are outstanding. These guys have come in, and they will be fixtures of this defense for years to come. Credit Tomlin Colbert for drafting those guys. It's a lot of talent on that side of the ball that is young and raw, and they've been playing as the years gone on. Shazier could have a big game. He could be an impact player like he is every week. He's just so fast. It's hard to overlook him. He could be a factor in this game. If Pittsburgh wins it, believe it or not, it's going to be close. It'll probably be mid-scoring. I don't think it'll be in the 30s. I don't think it's going to be low-scoring. Pittsburgh wins this game. The score will probably be around 27-24. It'll be close. It'll be one of the closest games of the year. This is the AFC Championship. I think everyone kind of wants. I don't really believe in Kansas City's ability to beat New England at home in the playoffs. Like, they're just another monster. I think there's a lot more big name players on the Steelers that can help get it done and get them over the hump in New England. You win this game, like, you will be remembered. This is the kind of game that leads you skyrocketing into the Super Bowl. And if Pittsburgh wins those 3 games, they're sitting on a 10-game win streak, the hottest team in the league. If that's where they are 3 weeks from now. Now, going to the Super Bowl, it's not as easy to predict who they'll be playing. I think the favorites that they'll see more than likely will be Green Bay, Atlanta, and Dallas. I think Seattle's they seem to be imploding. Like, every week they're fighting on the sideline. Earl Thomas injury is gigantic. They haven't had a pick in 4 weeks since he's been gone. That is pretty big. Seattle's O-line's not very good either. So I'm not a believer in them really getting past the divisional round. I think they lose to Atlanta. I don't really like Detroit on the road. I know a lot of people do, but again, I don't think they'll make it through Seattle. They probably lose in the wild card. Then the Giants. Giants are a team that can compete. They're good. They're hot. But I don't think they're going to get through Green Bay this year, especially on the road. They've done it in the past, but I'm not too keen on them right now. I do think Green Bay comes away with the win, and realistically, a good possibility of the team going to the Super Bowl is playing that Green Bay New York game, because I do think both teams are good enough to beat Dallas. There's a lot of young, good talent on that Cowboys roster, but again, not much playoff experience. I know Dylan on this channel is a huge Cowboys fan, and he'll probably be shaking when I say I don't think the Cowboys are going to make the Super Bowl, but it's most often the number one teams don't make it, especially both of them. And realistically, I think it's between New England and Pittsburgh to make the Super Bowl. So there's a number one team there. And then there's such a hard road for Dallas, any NFC team, that it's hard to say, oh, you know what, they've been running over teams, they're going to get it done. They are at home, which helps, but I'm still not that big of a believer. I think they won't make the Super Bowl. I think Atlanta has a good, like, probably the easiest road there to the NFC Championship game. But their defense is a little suspect to me. And if Green Bay does win and goes into Dallas and win, I think Green Bay ends up in the Super Bowl. Another red-hot team. I think they could abuse Atlanta's defense. That will be a freaking track meet of a game, because both defenses, specifically on the passing side of the game, aren't that great. I know Atlanta's had quite a few interceptions, but give up a lot of yards. I feel like that could be like a game where both teams are dueling the 40s. I do think it'll be Green Bay in the NFC going up against Pittsburgh. And that game, I feel like the matchup offensively for Pittsburgh is absolutely outstanding. Antonio Brown, this would be his game. This could be a signature game for him. I think Ladarius Green will probably make some fantastic plays. Le'Veon Bell will go off. Like, there's so many guys that could have humongous games. It's hard to look past. So with that said, Aaron Rodgers, beast. He'll feed the ball to Jordy Nelson, Devontae Adams. There's a lot of talent like Richard Rodgers on the Packers offense. The running game is okay. I'm still not a big believer in any of their backs, really. But they will put up a lot of points. This will be a higher scoring Super Bowl. Between Pittsburgh and Green Bay, this would be a rematch of Super Bowl 45. Something I'd want to see a little bit of revenge maybe for Pittsburgh, because there are a few players, especially a guy like Marquise Pouncey, who didn't get a play in that Super Bowl because I think he tore his MCL or meniscus in the AFC Championship game right before going to that game, and Doug Legursky had to play. So that would be extra motivation for a lot of guys on the Steelers side of the ball. I think Ben would be a lot more motivated. He's been struggling a little bit this year, but I don't know if that's with age catching up with him, or like he has struggled on the road consistently throughout his career, and like he can still put up numbers. I think Ben could have a pretty good game here. His targets should be able to get open. Ladarius Green over the middle, Antonio Brown just being the route god that he is. He can run any route on the tree and be successful and get open. Le'Veon Bell racking up the yards. The other receivers, like, they show up to play. Like Kobe Hamilton, he's decent. Ayers, he's decent. Rodgers, he's decent. Like, the depth in Pittsburgh, like their receiving core depth is extremely talented. And I do believe in them to catch the ball and gain some yards, get in the end zone. So Pittsburgh wins this game. I think it would be 38-34. You heard it here first. That's how Pittsburgh can win. Now, will they be able to do it? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Subscribe to the Bottom Line View. I've been Mike. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Comment below who you think's going to win. And we'll see you guys soon. Hopefully after Wild Card Weekend, we'll be celebrating a couple wins. Good luck, Steeler Nation, and good luck to your teams, too, if they've made it to the playoffs. I've been Mike. Signing.